But now it is time for Fridays with Phil. Good morning, Phil.
Morning, Frank. Good to be with you again on this nice rainy Friday.
I know it's supposed to be nice though this weekend.
Yes, it is.
Tell people to get out their petitions.
That's right.
Thank Got a lot of catch up to do. By the way, congratulations. We haven't seen you. My ranking minority member of the Assembly Ways and Means Committee.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
How much are you going to miss energy?
Well, it's funny when Leader Ross said, "Hey, I know you want to stay on energy, but you can't do both." but I have been very engaged in energy. You know, we've had 2 press conferences just the last 2 weeks on energy since then. So, I will continue to be engaged in energy, and being on the ranking member on energy, or on this Ways and Means Committee, still give me a platform where I can continue to talk about. Our conference is going to continue to talk about these issues. I mean, it's the issue everyone is talking about. It's the issue everyone's feeling. So.
You're exactly right. I was joking with somebody yesterday. I went and saw Blakeman speak, and then I was talking to the sheriff at this event, and every conversation, like the old days, the weather, or how's the bills look this year, or whatever, everything's about energy costs, and people openly talking about what their bill is.
Oh, I know. It's crazy. I mean, it's just not, we've listened to the governor talk about she's for an all-the-above approach. She's for affordable and reliable energy, but number one, her policies don't match her words. And then you just look at her energy, the resume that's coming, the policy resume, what we've heard, you know, the overall cost of this plan being $250 billion to $500 billion. July 23, NISO, or the PSC, approved $43 billion in future ratepayer increases to pay for green energy mandates. The All Electric Buildings Act, the builders have said this will increase the cost of new homeowner construction by up to $25,000 a person. The mother of all unfunded mandates, EV school bus, that's $8 to $15 billion in replacement costs, let alone the billions in charging infrastructure and other infrastructure. $35,000 to convert your homeowner from natural gas to full electrification. And oh, by the way, for the viewers, these aren't Phil Palmesano's numbers; these are their numbers.
Their numbers, yeah.
In 2019, before we passed the CLCPA, the residential electricity rate was like 17 cents a kilowatt hour. Now it's over 25 cents a kilowatt hour, 50% higher than the national average. Same similar percentage compared to Pennsylvania, and we're just a stone's throw away. And then you had the other things like the advanced clean car rule, advanced clean truck rule, the EV purchases. All these things keep adding up. And then to top it off, just last week there was a memo that came out from NYSERDA. Doreen Harris, the co-chair of the Climate Action Council, who put that green plan together, who, you know, even during budget hearings would never be able to answer how much this is going to cost. She says, we got to find out what the plan's going to be before we do it. It's kind of remind me of Nancy Pelosi saying, we got to find out what's in it before we got to pass it before we find out what's in it. But this report is damning. And if this isn't a wake-up call, what it would say is people who heat with natural gas and oil, their prices are going to increase to over $4,000 annually.
$4,000 annually.
But here's where it really starts staggering. Prices at the pump. $2.23 a gallon increase above what it is now. Diesel, $2.41 a gallon increase above what it is now. And some of the other parts of the report that didn't get as much attention, but are staggering, 46% utility costs for small and medium-sized commercial businesses, depending on your utility and your facility size. And the other one, increased delivery truck operations by 60%, more than 60%. So what does that mean? Your food prices are going to go up because you ship food by truck. Lumber prices are going to go up, so prices are going to go up. And the governor talks, and others talk about, we have a affordable housing crisis. Well, how does this help?
Everything's affordable.
It's just one thing after another. I mean, and we didn't even talk about, you know, reliability concerns that have been brought up by the NISO. The NISO came out with a white paper talking about the costs, and some of the things they cited is declining generation, you know, which basically a baseload generation like natural gas in the retirements. 2, you have a rising fuel costs and pipeline constraints, because sometimes we have the supply, but if you can't get the supply to where it needs to go, I mean, that's because we impact the whole Northeast market. That's problematic. And then the other thing is this growing electrification demand to meet these mandates without replenishing more base load generation. So what we did too, and I quickly pivoted to energy. I can't help myself.
I know we haven't talked about ways and means.
Missing energy. I'm like, well, but this is real.
No, it's important.
So we put forth a plan. Senate Republicans put forth a plan. Ours is called Lower Lights On with Energy Relief. And it basically, we're looking at a couple different things from our strategy. What can we do to get direct, immediate ratepayer relief now? And so there's multifacets to both of our plans. You know, one part of it is, yes, there's a rebate check, and I know when we talked about the governor's sometimes it may sound good, but this is something that we can get tangible, get some direct relief right back to families right now. The other thing that a lot of people don't realize, you know, the taxes, fees, and assessments you pay, they collect them, the utilities collect them. There's over $2.4 billion in reserve accounts in NYSERDA waiting for that money. They have them in accounts and then they want to spend it on green energy programs. We're saying rebate back directly to the ratepayers now. They would rather have direct ratepayer relief now than subsidize someone's EV purchase, than subsidize someone's electric heat pump, or subsidize electric snowblowers, which is what they want to do now too. It's crazy. And then that's one part of our plan. Oh, and then also the taxes, fees, and assessments, because your bill's made up of three parts: supply, delivery, and taxes, fees, assessments, and surcharges. Now, the delivery charges depart when the utilities go for the rate increases. It's only on delivery. The supply is a pass-through. But a lot of people, you know, your taxes, fees, and assessments, those, they, in some cases, can add up to more than 20% of your bill. And a lot of it goes to pay for these green energy programs, energy efficiency. People, we could suspend those taxes, fees, and assessments now. That will provide some direct, a combination of those three things will provide direct, immediate relief now. And then we want to, you know, the NYSERDA says we need to repower shuttered plants and build new. And we said, let's do that. Let's build more natural gas. Let's repower what we have. And here's another thing, you know, we are sitting on an abundance of natural gas here in southern tier. And I brought that up at the hearings. I'm like, we were never going to frack in the New York City watershed. We weren't going to frack in the Finger Lakes watershed.
Come on.
Well, the southern tier, we can do it. We just a stone's throw away from the PA where they are doing it, and their energy prices are lower than us. So.
Well, that's a question someone asked actually yesterday. If fracking was to be allowed in New York State, how much would that reduce the cost of energy in general, i.e. not only the cost of natural gas, but all electricity? Also, what is being done to make upstate the 51st state? We always got to get one of those in there. But again, it would reduce. I mean, it would be such a monumental change overnight if we went fracking.
Well, because you know, any issues with supply, if you have a tightening supply, prices go up. If you have a constraints of the pipeline, you can't get the gas to where it goes, prices go up. I still remember 2013, and there was a polar vortex. It wasn't for a lack of supply. It's the pipelines were constrained to get it. And you've seen there's been a hostility towards natural gas from this administration and the previous administration. It started with the ban on fracking, then it started with the denial of the pipeline projects, and then started with denial of air permits for new natural gas power plants and denial for even for renewables. We have a Greenwich up in Yates County that they denied the air permit. Fortunately, they re-upped it and did it recently. You saw the Nessie pipeline that, you know, I think the President Trump had something to do with that, with the negotiations. With, you know, they approved that pipeline project because think about what they were doing when they declined it before. The utility said, well, we can't provide any more gas. We're going to shut off new service. And Cuomo threatened their license. Says you're going to provide them. So what their solution was, they brought in 40, 50, 60 trucks. They pipe diesel emissions into the atmosphere, and then just injected into the local pipelines. That's not safe. That's not helping the environment.
It goes back to what we always talk about. It's just that virtue signaling.
It's virtue signaling. And you know, and how can you say you're for an all above policy when you have these policies that kind of go against that? I mean, their cap and invest plan alone too. That was their number. I missed that, but that's kind of ties into the new numbers. Their own person said if they implement that, it will increase prices at the pump 62 cents a gallon and increase natural gas home heating costs by 8%. And now that's been amended to show, you know, $2 to $23 increase and increase of up to $4,000. So that's significant. And there was a poll, and I've been citing this at the press conference. There was a poll: 71% of New Yorkers do not want to ban on natural gas, including 76% of independents. 2/3 of New Yorkers want a balance between new renewable resources and natural gas, including 74% of Democrats. That same poll said utility bills were too high. You don't need a poll to tell us, so we just got to look at our bill. But the message of that poll is clear. New Yorkers want energy choice, and they want immediate energy relief right now. And natural gas has always been referred to as a bridge fuel. I mean, we got to get to that, if they want to get to that transition. And the thing is, by 2040, from a reliability perspective, they say we need 27 to 45 gigawatts. I'm getting a little nerdy here. Gigawatts of dispatchable emission-free resources. 1 gigawatt is the equivalent of powering 750,000 homes. We have 41 gigawatts of our total generating capacity now: wind, solar, hydro. nuclear, natural gas, and oil. 41. We have to get almost double that in dispatchable. Wind and solar does not count. It doesn't count because it's not dispatchable. So nuclear should be a part of the equation, but the technology is not there. Carbon sequestration, renewable natural gas, we're not there on all these things yet. So why would you go away from a reliable source, a dispatchable source like natural gas? And like I said, it's been referred to as a bridge fuel. You don't tear down a bridge before you build a new one.
Exactly.
But that's exactly what they're doing with the reliable and affordable natural gas infrastructure supply and delivery system. That's what their policies are designed to dismantle it. It's totally designed to take away consumer choice on how you heat your home, how you cook your food, how you power your buildings, and the vehicle you drive. It will jeopardize the reliability of the grid, leading to dangerous and deadly blackouts, and it will simply continue our nation-leading out-migration of more families and businesses leaving the state of New York, and we can't have that happen.
And you've had so many press conferences and so many conversations these last couple of weeks on energy and talking about lower lights on with energy relief. Do you think they held them these last 2 weeks so they could go cold, not have you go cold turkey? Ways and means, they let you have a couple of weeks of still having energy.
Well, they're giving me a little fill.
Yeah.
It's all right, but we got a great ranker. We got a great, and this is an issue I'm gonna keep talking about.
Well, everybody's talking about it, and that's what's. We know that you're not going to stop fighting, but it just, I know it's going to be tough for you.
Yeah, but I mean, the thing is, I mean, for the viewers, I mean, there's talk. The governor wants to get changes.
Yeah.
The Democrats are in the legislature already doubled down and say they don't want any changes.
Yeah.
She should force the hand,
Yeah.
on policies. If policies are important to her, she'll put them in her budget. She'll draw a line in the sand. This is one to draw a line in the sand, in my opinion, if she's for affordability. But here's the thing: if she doesn't want to do that, there's an off ramp to the CLCPA. Because there's language in there, and I've said this. I've said this to the governor's people. I said, listen, if you don't want to do it, do this. The PSC can determine if there's a jeopardization to the delivery of reliable and safe service. They can pump the brakes on this thing. And if there's affordability issues, especially if you see an abundance of arrears happening, and we already see that, the arrears are continuing to back up, and you understandable why. It started with COVID. It got exacerbated in COVID, and then this and still. Those are reasons that they could take the off-ramp and then pause this whole thing, and they should. I mean, and the thing that's mind-blowing to me, they say this is all for the environment and the global emissions. New York's 0.4% of global emissions. 0.4.
Come on.
China's 30% has 1,000 coal plants and building more any week. Are they going to really help us meet our clean green energy goals? No.
Virtue signaling.
Yeah.
We'll be right back. Stay with us. Security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio, and in that studio, Assemblyman Phil Palmesano. All right, we got some questions, Phil.
Sure.
Please ask Phil, since the electric bills have doubled, what specific programs is that money going to? I'm seeing a lot of shiny new utility trucks, but what upgrades are happening to the grid? Is the extra money for utility bills being funneled back to Hochul?
Well, again, with the rate increases, as I've said, it's one part, it's the delivery. The supply is where they go out and they purchase their power. And there are some of these green energy programs that are being paid for through the supply because they have to buy these green programs. Like Champlain Hudson Express is basically, just to give you an idea, is the power that's going to come from Quebec down to New York City, and only New York City can benefit.
Yeah.
That's going to be subsidized by everyone across the state.
Yeah.
Offshore wind, that's being subsidized by everyone across the state. But the delivery part, that's to pay for the poles, the wires, the substations, and there are projects they're trying to do. But we're aware. I mean, when like from NYSEG, we've been told that there are certain power upgrades they want to make, but the PSC is basically telling them, and some of these things we're hearing through secondhand is that you're saying, no, you can't do this. You got to get more green energy, and that's not. You got to do more wind and solar. We don't want wind and solar.
No.
We want, power that generates that. So and listen, the governor's quick to blame the utilities, and I'm not saying the utilities aren't at fault at this, but they're reacting to these green energy mandates that they have to make.
Is the fine? Someone asked that. Is the fines against oil companies, has that been repealed, or that's still going with the climate change super fund there?
That's still pending. There's still a lawsuit. Nothing's happened to that, but I would hope that would get thrown out. That has to.
Just from the business climate aspect, I'm not talking oil companies, but if you're a major manufacturer, you got to think, well, if I follow all the rules,
exactly.
And then 10 years later they're going to find me. Okay. Good morning, Phil. Who was calling the shots in New York City? In New York State? Is it Hochul or the puppet masters in Albany? I think it's a combination, right?
Well,
right now it seems like it's Mount Donnie.
I think it's the progressives, the socialists, the Democrat, the socialists. They have a big influence on her policies because she was scared of a primary and that base, and she's just She just doesn't. I've said she doesn't really have the backbone to stand up to she, because there's some of these things on the energy policy she could put in her budget if she was serious about it, because then she'd be negotiating from a position of strength. Once it's in the budget, it's harder to get it out. But if it's not in there, then you can't get in there. I mean, one good example is the methodology used to measure emissions is when they pass CLCP is a 20-year methodology. Every other state, minus one, uses a 100-year methodology. International, the U.S. uses a 100-year methodology. And by not changing it, that's going to increase costs at the pump more and home heating costs more. And she could have changed that, but she didn't do that. She could put that in her budget, and she didn't do that. So now she's going to try to negotiate it in. It's going to be harder to do that.
Mark writes in, Phil, Bath, New York uses their landfills to produce energy through methane gas. Why doesn't the rest of the state explore more ways to get energy?
Well, we should be. That's the problem. But the problem, there's this hostility towards anything with natural gas or methane. Their whole thing is wind, solar, and batteries. And that's not an answer, in my opinion. You can't say you're for an all-of-the-above approach. Even the draft energy plan and the final plan talks about an all-of-the-above approach, but I continue to say, the policies aren't matching the words. You just can't do it. We need to be looking at a broader perspective. But the thing is, until we get these technologies, and I think nuclear needs to be a part of it. I mean, look at the generation that comes from nuclear. And I had a comment from an energy reporter, nuclear has subsidies. Yes, nuclear gets subsidies to keep them here, baseload generation. So does wind and solar. But if you're comparing the two, there's no comparison. Nuclear, hands down, first it's dispatchable, second it's reliable. It goes 24/7 if you need it. But the other thing is land use. Look at the land use. I mean, and we have upstate communities. They want a nuclear facility. They're begging for one, because they know what it will mean to their local communities. But land use, I mean, Indian Point, which the governor shut down, 2,000 megawatts, 2 gigawatts on 240 acres. Look at Fitzpatrick up in central New York, 800 megawatts on 900 acres. Now, the Climate Action Council plan calls for 60 gigawatts of solar, remember? That's a lot. So it's about 8 acres per megawatt. So that's 480,000 acres of land for solar panels. Can you? That's all upstate New York. Wind, same thing. And upstate communities don't want this. They want, so they're begging for nuclear. Some of them are begging for nuclear. Some people in the solar tier would like to have gas, but not wind and solar. But they're being force-fed wind and solar without any local input or control.
And we got other things to talk about. But
I know. I'm sorry.
No, it's not my fault.
I can't help myself.
It's officially Fridays with Phil, because we got this. Morning, Frank. Sergeant Dave here. I think Phil should run for governor. He talks about all common sense things New York needs. So now it's officially a Fridays with Phil when you get asked to be governor. All right. Should we take a break? Yeah, I'm going to take a break, because then when we come back, we're going to regroup, because I want to talk about the budgets because there's a lot going on, and you've been very busy with that. Hopefully, we can talk about corrections officers too. So stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking after this. The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. In that studio, the new ranking minority member of Assembly Ways and Means Committee, Phil Palmesano. So, Phil, let's talk about where are we at when it comes to the budgets right now, because this is kind of that sweet spot right now where things are really busy, right?
Right. Yeah. Obviously, after the governor presents their budget, the legislature has joint budget hearings. So I was kind of tossed into the middle of that, and that was it was interesting. It was a lot, but it was great. But so we concluded the hearings the last week of February, and then that Friday we had basically we met with economists for several hours. We had their presentations on the state of the economy in New York and U.S. to kind of, because what we have to do is that weekend we had to come to an agreement, 5-way agreement on revenue projections. The governor has her numbers, the Senate minority, Assembly minority, Senate majorities, they all have their numbers. Right. And there's a difference. Of course, the majorities wanted to spend way above the governor, billions above, up to almost just under $2 billion in more spending. The Assembly and Senate Republicans, their projections were somewhat below the governor, so they have to negotiate. And we were part of those negotiations up till midnight. It had to be done by March 1st. We came to an agreement. So it's a little bit above what the governor had projected, but that's based on the economic indicators are coming back. So now that sets the basis for the budget negotiations. What will happen next week, we're going to get the one-house budgets. That's going to be the wish list that you're going to see from the majorities. It's going to have tax increases in it. It's going to spend a lot of money that we don't have. It's a whole bunch of things. So that's that. Then after that, then we'll probably we might be brief joint conference committees, but that sets the stage for the final budget negotiations. But we're going to continue to push for our priorities and what policies we think need to be included in that budget. But that's where we are right now.
Okay. What are you seeing? What do you think? So you kind of already said, but expect radical next week, pretty much.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a wish list. Even my colleagues on there say, listen, this is a wish list. They just have to go through. It's part of the constitutional process. They have to pass their one-house budget resolutions. We'll have a debate. I'll be part of that debate, obviously, discussing all the things. And it's just one resolution. It's not every budget bill. Like when we do the budget, we're talking about 10 budget bills on different topics: public protection, health, education. This is just one budget resolution. We kind of debate the merits of that, just to get their priorities, and that sets the stage of what, so that everyone knows what the Senate stands on it, or the Assembly stands on it, and then they go from there with the negotiations with the governor.
And I wanted to mention, we've been playing a lot of videos. You've done great with, like I said, the energy, but I want to talk about corrections officers because yesterday, that's why Bruce Blakeman, a candidate for governor, was in Elmira. He wanted to talk to the corrections officers and kind of show a solidarity with the mess that they went through. You had a couple now great videos that you sent us where you really held some people's feet to the fire. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, the first one was with the DOCS commissioner, Marcelo, talking to him, challenging him why, because the two big, we know why the work stoppage, work protests, people want to call strike. I think it's protest because of the conditions, whatever it is. Call it whatever you want. But the reasons were for the public safety and for the quality of life. Double, triple overtime, but the safety because of the halt. Not being able to segregate the most dangerous and violent inmates from the rest of the general population. We've seen in the first 3 years since the implementation of halt, and we're in the 4th year now, so it's kind of come down a little bit, probably because of the work stoppage, but the first 3 years, inmate on inmate assaults were up over 169%. Inmate on staff assaults were up over 76%. Contraband seizures were up 32% during that period of time. So it's a powder keg environment. It's a combination of all the failed policy, the prison closures, this. And so I want to repeal halt. A lot of us want to repeal.
Yeah.
They weren't going to get that. They couldn't get that. So that was one thing. So, but what came together though last year was the Governor's Office of Employee Relations, the DOCS commissioner, and then the SCOBA came and they came to an agreement on halt reforms that should be done. And I put a comment, this is a step in the right direction. It's not where we need to be. It's a step in the right direction to make it safer for the corrections officers and the civilians, staff that works inside, and also for the other inmates. They came to an agreement. So my point was, why isn't the governor putting this in our budget? Yeah. These were your people. The commissioner said, well, I can't speak for the governor. I should have said, have you told her to put in the budget? So then the following week, and I think the last one I had was, I was a little bit more agitated with, was the governor, because he goes, I can't speak for the governor. Well, this guy works, the other guy, the commissioner can't speak for the governor, but the Governor's Office of Employee Relations director who signed the paper goes, well, that's more correction. I go, sir, you signed the paper. Your name's on this. Well, yeah, I signed it. I go, then why aren't you putting this in the budget? We know why this happened is because of the safety. That's not in the budget. That's number one. That's something that would provide to let our corrections officers know we have your back instead of stabbing them in the back. I mean, she fired 2,000 corrections officers. We have a work shortage. Now we're spending over $500 million for National Guard troops.
I think it's
to be
even
there.
higher than that now.
$535 million was the last I heard.
Yeah.
And that came up in the budget. So why not do that?
You're right.
Okay, why not, put those halt reforms in the budget? Because if she thinks she's going to negotiate it in the budget, like I said, there's some of my colleagues that they don't want to make any changes. They're not going to go along. No. But if she put it in her budget, she could draw a line in the sand and say, I'm doing this. She put cell phone bans in her budget. That was a priority to her. Yeah. The safety and security of our corrections officers aren't a priority to her. Maybe the safety of the other inmates, because that does impact the other inmates too.
Right.
So why not? And then the other thing that impacts our corrections officers that the governor's vetoed twice, the death gamble. Yeah. These individuals. This is a
You've been talking about this for a long time.
This is a retention issue, because they have a 25-year retirement for corrections officers. Right. But if you work beyond that 25 years, if you were to die, whether you're working or just have a heart attack, and if you were to die, your spouse will only get 3 times your annual salary, even though you worked enough years to secure that pension for yourself. Your spouse would not be eligible to that pension. That's wrong. Yeah. So the governor.
What's the incentive to stay?
Yes, and especially with what we have with the recruitment and retention going on now. So if the governor, when she vetoed it, she goes, put it in the budget. But she hasn't put it in the budget, and we haven't got it added in the budget. And I don't understand. I'm like, And I said to her, the governor's, I go, if the governor's here, I'd say to here, I can answer it. I go, why doesn't she put it? He goes, I can't speak. I go, I will. I'll take my own deference to say, the reason I say it to her, she was right here now, she didn't do it because she doesn't give a damn.
No.
She doesn't care. And if she did, she would have put in their budget to tell those corrections officers that I have your backs and I'm with you. Because those are two things she could have done. You know, the halt reforms that would have made it safer, and the death gamble, which would have provided them some security for their families to know their loved one would be taken care of if they died, while still staying on the job to help out their brothers and sisters who are still working inside those facilities because they know they need people and they want to stay there a little longer to help out.
I think we got to take another break because the next segment I want to talk about chips because you've been busy. You got a lot of with all the various chips, energy. I mean, busy time. All right, stay with us. Keep those comments coming in, and we'll be right back. The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio and that studio, Assemblyman Phil Palmesano. A couple comments here. Ken writes in, does Phil think with his new position in Ways and Means that he could push for investment disclosure for all New York State elected officials and their families? This would shed some light on the reasons why the Democrats push so hard to go for fossil free, solar and wind, et cetera, et cetera.
Well, we do have to do a financial disclosure report every year, and you have to put your investments on that report that's available. You can, if someone wants to FOIL or ask for it, they can get them.
Okay.
So you have to put out, like when I do it, I have to put, like I have like a deferred comp, I put that, and you have to show what groups those are. I have an IRA, I have to show what that's invested in, that type of thing. That's available to people to see.
Question for Phil. What is the less fascination with prisoners' rights above the guards? Are they courting a huge voting bloc? I don't understand their end game.
I don't know either.
That's a great
seems
question.
like the scales of justice have tipped in favor of inmates and violent criminals rather than law enforcement, public safety, and crime victims. It's happening inside our correctional facilities, and it's happening outside our correctional facilities. We've seen the, bail reform, things of that nature, raise the age, which basically makes it easier for people to get out of prison and commit crime again. I saw a report that a parolee was just arrested for committing assaults and slashing people after they were released. Just that's what's happening. So and you saw down in New York City the people attacking, throwing snowballs at the New York City police officer. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
They should have been arrested. He says a snowball fight. That wasn't a snowball fight.
No, people went to the hospital.
That was an assault.
Yeah, and thanks for that question, Jack. That was a great question. A comment from Rudy. He says, good morning. Why haven't the people of New York started a proposition vote to legalize natural gas drilling instead of letting Democrats run the show? I don't know. Is there a mechanism for that? I don't even know. No, I don't think. Yeah, I didn't think so. Comment from a different viewer. I would love to see nuclear power. It is reliable and affordable. Phil, I would also love to see you run for governor of New York. I like your common sense approach.
Don't get me in trouble, guys.
But that makes it official Fridays with Phil.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
One last thing, and then I got to talk about Fridays with Phil because I love this. But a comment from a viewer: it's a bit of a surreal feeling knowing that in the next few years my family and friends will have to leave New York State. It kind of is.
It is. Well, there was a poll out, and I brought that up at the revenue consensus that talking about migration. I asked the economists there. A poll that morning said 1/3 of New Yorkers were going to leave the state of New York.
Yeah.
The three top issues they cited was living expense, cost of living, quality of life, and taxes.
Yeah.
I mean, 1/3.
1/3.
I mean, even if that's 10% right, that's a lot of people. That's a lot of taxable income that's going to go with it.
But I agree, it's surreal. But let's talk about this before we talk about the nitty gritty because I love this. You sent me a photo. So tell us about, because listen, Fridays with Phil, we love it. Everybody calls it that. But tell us a little bit about how that's maybe oozed into Albany.
Oh, yeah. So this is funny. The Ways and Means team that works for me, and it's such an incredible staff. I wish if they were watching, thank you for all you do for me. Thank you for all you do for our conference. They're just incredible, phenomenal staff. Team. It's a team. Yeah. So my predecessor at Ra, who's our Lanker now, they did it every Friday. They do a report for him, and now they do it for me. His was called the Ra report. Okay. So then the staff took a vote. They all came up with suggestions, and I didn't want to vote, but I saw them, and they go, "What do you think?" And some of them said like the Palmesano Paul. Some of them said Palmesano points. Something said Phil this, Phil points. But the one that caught my eye, and it actually got the most points. It was called the Friday fill-in.
I love it.
So every later today, the Ways and Means team will send me a report on some updates of what's going on, and we brief it more next week. So when I saw that, I go,
perfect.
I'm kind of partial to that. I think Palmesano is too long. How can you go from raw report to Palmesano? Too many syllables.
Yeah, too much.
But the Friday fill-in I thought was kind of neat, and it came when I saw it, I had to tell you right away. I thought it was cool.
That's great. And see a little bit of Frank.
Yeah, have a little fun with it.
Yeah, exactly. Speaking of fun, chips.
Yes, chips.
So first of all, this kind of ties in, but we had a great conversation on this program just the other day about a congestion tax for upstate.
Oh my God!
Right, the $25 a year. The way I understand registration.
Yeah.
Anything that taxes
non-starter to me. Luckily, thank God, it's just some proposal from some outside group that absolutely will no way, in my opinion, I will sign off on, and others. So it's just crazy. It's just a money grab.
But that ties in with chips, and I know you've always been outspoken, getting chips funding and more fair for our, like you said.
Parity.
Let's talk a little bit about that. Yeah,
parity. I mean, listen. I mean, in the past, under when it was balanced between Republicans and Democrats, there was parity. Like we do the 5-year DOT capital plan and the 5-year MTA capital, and they'd be pretty equal. Oh, that's not the case anymore. But I support MTA funding because I mean certainly benefits our local employers like Alstom, soon to be Siemens, CAF, those types of companies that do great work, and if that's the lifeblood of the downstate transportation network, but CHIPS is the lifeblood of our upstate transportation network. Some of these local communities, that's the only money they receive. For the view, if you're not familiar, it's money that goes from the state right to the local town, village, county, to decide what roads, bridges, and culverts you want to fix. So Tom O'Meara and I kind of started, Chris Friend, back in 2013. We had these rallies in Albany. The highway superintendents would come up to Albany and rally. 700 of them, and we have a sea of orange. Local roads matter. Now it's local roads that were essential. And asking, we've had some significant increases over the time. We've gotten more money to our local communities, which, in my opinion, every dollar invested in chips is one less dollar that comes from the local property taxpayer. Every dollar in chips saves $6 to $14 in long-term rehabilitation costs. So we had asked for a $250 million increase this year again because it was flat funding from the governor, and it's warranted and justified. First of all, 87% of the roads in New York are owned and maintained by our municipalities. 52% of the 18,000 bridges are owned and maintained by our local municipalities. 48% of the miles driven are driven on local roads. And the Federal Construction Highway Cost Index, the inflationary rate for all fuel costs, equipment, is up over 70% over the past 3 years. So any money we get to our locals is being eaten away by inflation.
But look at this too, Phil. Okay, $250 million, that's nothing to sneeze at. Then you look at Hochul throwing money at Mamdani. You look at the child care, the cost of that, all the money that New York City is getting, and sadly, $250 million is a drop in the bucket compared to that.
First of all, you're talking in the context of a $250 billion budget.
Yes.
And budgeting is all about priorities. We don't have a revenue problem, we have a spending problem. But you have to prioritize your spending within that content. There's a pie. So why are we putting $800 million in the Hollywood film tax credit to subsidize the Hollywood? And then the governor, in her 30-day amendments, because it was important, gave Mamdani $1.5 billion of additional money. I mean, it's like a bailout.
Just to keep him happy. And then he says, no, I'm still not happy.
Yes,
because
he wants more and more. And I question him at the budget hearing.
Tax the rich. Oh, yeah, we played that.
I question him. I'm like, I go, no, I agree. He's a nice guy.
Yeah.
But he's out there.
Yeah, he's out there. I like when he said, good to see you again, because it's like, you didn't spend any time in Albany. So I think that threw me off. It's like, when's the last time Mamdani said,
well, then I said, we go, well, anyways. And I said, listen, the one thing we can all agree on, Mr. Mayor, is you have an ambitious agenda. Everyone's going to agree. I go, but we're going to disagree on whether it's a good agenda.
Exactly.
And then we kind of went into it. So,
but you look at the money. So, and again, he has to make good on his promise of taxing the rich. That's what it's about. But not to get off of chips. You just throw so much money in New York City. And I think we can all do many wasteful ways. Give chips to $250 million.
That would be significant because it's about safety. I mean, how many of our kids go on a local school bus to go over a local roads, bridge, or culvert? Tourism. We always talk about tourism. Wine country, but none of the federal dollars can really go on these local roads.
Right.
So the interstate might be getting improved, but you have to get off an interstate and getting on local roads to get to a business, get to a site. And what message is that sending if the local roads are a mess?
Right.
And things are eating away at that, and we need to provide that direct relief, and that benefits every municipality, not just upstate. It does benefit New York City, and it benefits Long Island, but this is it's the lifeblood of our upstate transportation network, and we're going to continue to push. I think we had we had the local press conference in Big Flats. I couldn't be there because there was a death in the family. My mom had a little hip injury, so. But Tom, Chris, Joe, they took with it. John Buckley, everyone was there. It was great to build momentum. What we did is we started doing these press conferences regionally around the state to build momentum. And this week it culminated with the big bipartisan press conference. The Senate Chair of Transportation, the Assembly Chair of Transportation, Republicans and Democrats were both there, unified, saying the same message. We need this $250 million. The key is, if we can all agree, let's make sure they put it in their one-house budgets first. Yeah. That's going to be key. If you don't put it in your one-house budget, then you're just talking.
Exactly.
So when they say that, we're going to hold them accountable to that, and then let's get the governor to agree with it. But there seems to be bipartisan support for this, so let's do it.
Let's just do it.
It's common sense.
All right, we got to take a short break and then wrap up today's edition of Frankly Speaking. Stay with us. Business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. I appreciate all the comments. We're just about out of time. We've got to get Phil a few last second questions I've been saving till the end. But how does Phil feel about Bruce Blakeman for governor of New York? That's a question.
Yeah, well, I'm supporting him.
Yeah,
he's our guy.
You're not supporting Hochul.
He's much better than the alternative,
yeah.
and I think
he did a good job yesterday.
Yeah, he's out. He's getting out and about. He's had success certainly on Long Island, in a purple area, and that area is more Democrats than Republicans, I believe. So he's out. He's out there. He has a message. I'm going to do everything I can to support him. I'm sure the rest of our team will do that. Yep. I mean, the issues are on our side, whether it's public safety, energy, affordability, because they can't keep Governor Hochul can't keep talking about an affordability agenda when you look at her policy resumes. So yeah.
And I will say, I know people, and I've talked to his people. He's going to come on the program. But what I will say is that people haven't heard a lot about him. If they heard him yesterday, they'd be in total support. So just trust me on that. But we will get him on the program.
And it's March. November's a ways away, but we have a lot of work to do. And
we do.
He'll be up here, and I'm going to do everything I can to help him.
Yep. All right. Our good friends from WGI visited you. We showed the picture the other day. That looks fun.
Yeah, they were up.
Watkins Glen International.
Yep. Don Burlew, a couple members of her
She's
team.
Been on the program quite a few times.
Fiona and Michelle were there. And then also we had Dan Klinetsky from NASCAR was there. Yeah. And what we're doing, the reason they came up is they brought up pace car. We've talked and we were putting together, Tom and I were going to and we reached out to bipartisan, we're going to put up a bipartisan motorsports working group so we can kind of put some attention on this issue, because even some states, and I brought this up at the economic development hearing to the Empire State Development, some states put tons of money into their motorsports, tracks, because it's so competitive. We want to keep that here. It's a gem. This is the 40th year that the NASCAR has been there.
Is that right?
Yes, in 1986. I looked it up before, not before I came in, but I knew that before. Right. So we're creating this motorsports working group so we can look at, and the thing is, there's more than 20 motorsports venues across the state. Yeah. So it's an economic driver for these local communities. I mean, you see what's going on. So we want to put attention on this issue and see what we can do from a policy perspective and help support. I mean, I love New York dollars. You think that would be going to help promote WGI? They're not getting any dollars. So we've engaged the Empire State Development. So, Senator Cooney, Democrat transportation chair from Rochester, came to the meeting. It was kind of like a reception gathering, this is a kickoff. And he followed me out. We talked to Hope. He goes, Hope Knight, the chair, he goes, we got to do this. So to have him there with me to do it, bipartisan, we're going to push this. And it's an economic driver. Yeah. They did a study in 2014. It was like a $200 million economic impact. Then over 100,000 people show up at that race every year. Wow. So it's an economic engine for not just our region. Yeah. It's an economic engine for our state, and we're going to support it the best we can.
Also, we got to go, but we want to remind people about the 3rd annual Donate Life Art Contest. I talk about it all the time. It's coming up. That's over, isn't it?
It's over, but I think people, if you haven't sent it anyway, because we're going to have a big gathering March 31st to kick off. We do a big annual event that you'll probably hear about at the time to promote Donate Life.
And also the 2026 scholarship opportunity that we talked about. We actually had a couple people reach out to get more information. That's on March 16th. That's due. So you still have time
send it to 4 $3,000 scholarships. 2 economic to athletic.
There you go. Phil, thanks for giving us so much time as always. It's been a fun Friday with Phil. We'll leave on this comment. Frank and Phil, great show today. Have a good weekend, and congrats to Phil in his new position.
Thank you.
All right. Not stay with us. This is my last break. I just said it. Join us on Monday for Frankly Speaking.